Welcome back, everyone, to Confessions of a Loveaholic. I am your host, Emmy Hernandez, and I have an incredible guest for you here today. We are talking to the amazing Claudia Matos, and I invited
Thank
her.
you.
So happy you're here. I invited her because she's going to be talking to us about people pleasing and toxic family members. So let me tell you a little bit about Claudia. Claudia is a recovering people pleaser. Yay! You're
Raise
in
the
the
roof.
right room. She's also a licensed clinical social worker and a couples therapist. I love me some couples therapists. Thank
Me
you, thank you,
too.
thank
I love
you.
my couples. I love love.
Aren't they amazing? And
Yes.
she helps people pleasers break the cycle and put themselves first, which is very difficult when you grow up in certain households. We're going to be discussing that today.
Yeah.
She loves helping their couples navigate different challenges that come up in relationships, which always have things come up in relationships. Claudia, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited
Yay! I'm excited to be talking about some really intense things here.
and
And
sensitive. Yeah.
we're going to be going into the people pleasing and then going into toxic family members. And we're also going to be discussing culturally how that works because it's very different. I've had a lot of my clients tell me, Emmy, my white therapists don't understand, like, my Mexican mom, and like they don't get
hmm
why it's such a big deal that that I want to move out on my own, or that I already moved out. And like, I need some help. I'm like, I got you covered, babe. I got you covered. So
It's a different
let's
walk of
start,
life for sure.
right? Let's start
Yeah.
there, lovely. So when it comes to relationships, and especially romantic relationships, can you
hmm
tell us what do, what does people pleasing look like, first of all, and how will it affect your romantic relationship?
Like people pleasing can look a ton of different ways, right? We can go anywhere from just trying to make everyone happy. It can be just struggling to vocalize your needs. It comes in a ton of different shapes and forms. So I don't know if there's a great description or like a cut and dry description of people pleasing. But it usually comes from feeling highly anxious, right? If I look back at my clients that have struggled with people pleasing, they're really anxious, they're overachievers. We hear that a lot, right? I'm doing so great, but then they don't see it for themselves because they're so busy taking care of everybody else. So that's probably the most generic definition I can give you, is just a highly anxious person who is just worried about everyone else but themselves. That's usually what my people pleaser, when I think of that, that's what comes to mind.
So now, Claudia, this is where I'm so glad you're here to talk about this, because from the outside perspective, you're describing that isn't someone who's a people pleaser, who's always taking care of someone else's needs. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Wink, wink. In a relationship, because you're always taking care of the person that you love. You're always taking care of their needs. So that's a good thing for a relationship, isn't it?
Right, right. Wink, wink. Of course, I'm gonna say yes. It's beautiful, and I tell my people pleasers, please keep your heart so big. I'm not asking anyone to change it. All I ask for my clients with people pleasing tendencies in relationships is protect your heart too, because we want that same energy, right? If I'm going in 110%, I expect my partner to go in 110%. And listen, don't get me wrong. There's some days where I might be 70 and you might have to, or they might be 70 and they have to pick up the extra, and that's fine. It's going to be a balance. It's a roller coaster. Life is crazy. I get it. But people pleasing in a relationship, if you're not getting your needs met, you're in a one-sided relationship. So it's not really a healthy relationship, right?
And that is key. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for saying that. For those of you listening and watching right now, please write this down. You matching and fulfilling your partner's needs and
Mhm.
expectations once they're clearly stipulated is a good thing. But that's only one side of the coin. I see
Exactly.
so many women do that and overexert themselves to meet everyone else's needs, but then their needs are not being met. And that's where the issue lies. So, Claudia,
Yes.
how do we start? So, when a couple comes to you and they're having maybe some issues where the wife is potentially not getting her needs met, and she's talking about how she's maybe feeling sad or unfulfilled, and she doesn't know how to bring this up with her partner. We're just going to assume this is a heterosexual relationship. We're
Okay.
allies here, but
hmm
for this example, we're going to say it's a husband and wife. How can a wife start bringing these things up in a session, and how would you go about explaining to the husband what are some of the things that he can do, and maybe some of the things he has no idea that he's missing?
So it's simple, Emmy, right? I ask my clients, whether they're individually with me or on the couch as a couple, I ask them, what does love look like to you, right? I think we hear so much about the love languages, and don't get me wrong, I love the love languages, but I think the misconception is my love language is gift giving. This is an example. My love language is gift giving, so I'm going to give gifts to everyone. That's not what that means. That means you enjoy receiving gifts, right? But your partner may not enjoy receiving gifts. They may want you to spend quality time with them. So that's where I usually stop, because I immediately couples say, but I did the five love languages quiz. I know, I know. And I say, no, we don't. Tell me what it looks like for you to feel loved, right? What does that mean? Does that mean you're coming home and dinner's made after a long day? Does that mean, all the chores are done and the house is clean for you? Or does that mean your husband or partner is planning a romantic date night on a Friday because you enjoy the quality time outside of the house, away from the kids or pets or whatever? That's the difference, right? So I think that's where the misconception comes on, because I know my love language. That's awesome, but it doesn't mean that your partner has the same one. That's the difference. So that's the biggest question that I always say. And I encourage couples to talk about it continuously, not just in the office on the couch with me. Let's go home, because let me tell you what, your love language is going to change, right? I may enjoy quality time right now, but maybe in 10 years, my love language changes to something else. And I need to be able to communicate that to my partner and say, hey, right now, I don't know, I really need extra words of affirmation, or I really need more gifts or whatever to feel that love from you. That's what I would take from you right now. And because life is crazy, right? It's going to change. So love languages, they morph into wherever we are in our lives. And that's okay. I think the biggest thing is expecting everyone to stay the same, right? So we have to understand that as time goes on, we're changing physically, emotionally, mentally, and so does our love. And that's what's so important. And I think that's something that I always stress in relationships, individually, whatever, platonic, romantic, family, is that it's going to change. And we have to continuously have that conversation about, this is what love means to me. This is how I feel loved. And this is what I need from you as a partner. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love this, Claudia. I would like to give our audience some suggestions from you, a licensed clinical a therapist, because I think it's so important. One of the things I do with my ladies when they're sort of prepping to get into relationships, about like speaking their truth. And there's a different, I call it that there's a difference between demanding your needs to be met versus requesting kindly.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go into that a little bit? And I'll give you an example of, like, if my husband, if I need some, and he fulfills all of my needs because I've gotten really good at verbalizing them.
Same.
Okay.
Yes.
My husband
Same.
is not psychic. He loves me and I love him, but he is not psychic. But because I've gotten really good at verbalizing my needs, I will ask things in curious tones, or I will request, like, hey, honey, can you do me a favor? I really need your help with X, Y, and Z. That is very different. So my needs are fulfilled because I ask about them kindly and nicely, because that's how I like to be spoken to, versus what I saw in my household growing up is my mom is very demanding. So that's what I thought was like, oh,
The norm.
needs be fulfilled. This happens a lot in very diverse Latino households. We're going to go
Yeah.
into
Big
that
time.
next. So I would love if you can give us sort of either an example of a script or a scenario, so those who are listening can understand how to properly verbalize and the expectations to get your needs met, because I see a lot of people doing it the wrong way and then they wonder why they don't get results.
Big time, big time. That's such a good point. And like you said, I saw it the toxic way for so long. And so for so long, that's all I knew, right? You come home, the house is a mess. I've been working 8 hours a day. Why wouldn't you clean up the house and have it ready for me? And that was the way I thought you had to communicate. And as time went on, as I matured, and I realized it wasn't getting me anywhere, right? I wasn't getting the request that I needed. So that's where I started to realize, like, hey, maybe that's not not healthy. That's not the way to do it. And so I'll give an example of like a healthy way. And it's something that we practice, me and my partner, when I've had a stressful day and I know that there's something important at home that we've been working on that I don't want to come home and see. I will very nicely just say, babe, I'm having a really long day today. Do you think tonight when I come home we can just order out, or we can, can you just knock out that laundry real quick before I get home, and that way I have nothing else to worry about? Something along those lines, right? And I always encourage my couples and individuals, use those I statements, right? I'm feeling, because we don't want to point the finger. You don't ever take out the trash. You don't ever do the dishes. You don't ever cook dinner. We don't want to do that, because when we're hitting the yous, I'm pointing at you, right? Guns blazing. That's what I always tell my couples. Look at this. What does it look like? I'm coming at you, right? So I always tell them, use the I statements. I need this. I'm feeling this. Can you help me with this or whatever? But always leading from your emotions, how it's going to make you feel, and the resolution you're trying to get. Because, like you said, and I say, it's so funny you said that. I say to my couples all the time, you're not a mind reader, right? How was I supposed to know? You had a long day. You didn't tell me. I wasn't in your office with you from 9 to 5. I don't know what your boss yelled at you, or your coworker's an asshole, or I didn't know. And that's a lot of times what the couples will say when they're on the couch with me is, I didn't know she felt that way, or I didn't know he felt that way. Yeah, I know, because guess what? We're not psychics. We're not. Unfortunately, there's no pill we can take to learn that, or like develop a psychic power. So we have to use this wonderful little organ here, our mouth and our lips and our voice, and just say like, hey, this is what I need. It's been a long day, or I'm feeling really anxious. There's a big test coming up, or I have a doctor's appointment and I'm nervous about the results. Whatever. Just let them know what's going on and expressing exactly what you need. But coming again, like I said, from a place of I'm feeling this. Can you help me with this?
I love that. And I'm going to point out something else, listeners and watchers. Please notice not only the words that our expert said here, her tone. Okay. Very
Tone is so
often,
big. I mean,
the
tone is so
let's talk
big.
about tone, Claudia. Let's tell
Yes.
them about tone, because you did it perfectly. Because we can say those exact words with, let's call it a not so nice tone, or let's call it what it is, a bitchy demanding tone, and get
Hmm.
very different results.
Yeah. That's like when you come home and the dishes are still in the sink and, oh, gee, thanks for doing the dishes. Right? Instead of maybe they could have been done, or maybe they aren't done, and we want to express our disappointment. Hey, next time I have a really long day, do you think we could just, knock out the dishes? Or, I'm coming home late. Do you think, on those days you can just have dinner sort of started and I'll finish it? Something along those lines. But the really aggressive tones is where you're right. It's tough. And let me tell you what, it's a hard habit to break, is when you're angry or you're anxious and you've had a long day at the office and you come home and the kids and the animals are screaming. It's hard to want to come in and be like, oh, honey, wow, the laundry's not done again. Thanks. So I get it, but take a breather. I always say sit in the car if you need to. Those memes on Instagram are they're funny to laugh at, but it's true. Sometimes you got to sit in the car and play a song and take a deep breath for a second and understand and really check in where your anxiety is coming from, or where you're feeling angry. We don't want to take that on the ones we love. And unfortunately, a lot of times we do, because they're the closest ones to us.
It's so true. I want to give y'all one of my favorite tricks. And I want to hear one of yours, Claudia. One of my favorite tricks, and it's not even really a trick, but one of my hacks that I learned is that if I'm having a hard day, if for some reason I got a bad email, whatever, we all have hard days, and sometimes they are triggered by a specific moment. I will,
Hmm.
in that moment, text my husband. I don't need an immediate response, but I will let him know, honey, I'm having a really hard day, like that,
Absolutely.
or this day's just super shitty, or I'm super anxious and I don't even know why. I need a big hug and cuddles when you come home, please.
I
Right?
agree.
So
Yes.
setting him up for me immediately, because I'm feeling vulnerable, because that's usually what it is. Like the anger comes about when
Hmm.
vulnerability is being ignored, right? So if you
Yes,
can step
100%.
in with a healthy partner, by the way, only healthy partners can respond accordingly. Toxic partners cannot respond that way. They will then turn themselves into the victim and make
Yep,
themselves vulnerable.
exactly.
But when you are with a healthy partner and you tell your partner, like, oh my God, honey, today totally sucks and I'm feeling super anxious. When you come home, can I get extra cuddles, please? Or just need to sit with you and just a big hug. Sometimes that'll dissipate 80% of the issue. And
Yes.
then you'll be like, okay, what happened? Talk about it. And then you can do something together. But that's what I call my hack. So don't wait until you see your person. And it's not about like offloading, vomiting like immediately via text and you don't have to give all the details, or maybe it's an emergency and you have to do a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Giving that person the heads up gives them the chance to, when they do see you, like to be extra loving and affectionate and to just sort of be present, which is what
Yes.
us as women need the most, without like going into maybe his amazing day and we're like, oh, well, you didn't even ask me about my day, right? So it sort of sets up that prep.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite tips.
Yeah, I love that. And I will even do the opposite. 'Cause sometimes it's, oh, the dogs are going to go crazy. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're clear. Sometimes it's the opposite for us. Sometimes I've had a really long day of sessions and maybe they were just heavier than usual. And I will just, like you said, text them on the way home and just say, hey, when I get home, I just want some peace and quiet. So if that means, I'm going to my office and I'm shutting the door for a second and watching an episode on my own, it's just setting that precedence, right? Because otherwise, if I don't give that heads up, I'm coming home, I'm slamming the door to my office, I'm totally isolating. That can come off as being avoidant and that's going to cause issues. So again, and I think it's a whole other realm, right? Your partner can go into a whole rabbit hole of what he did wrong. Why is she in there? What's your problem? Why are you slamming doors? And I obviously would try to avoid slamming the door. But depending on the day, I might just be like, hey, I just need some quiet time. I just need to play a video game or read a book or whatever it is people do nowadays to help themselves calm down. But my trick is being quiet because sometimes my mind's racing so much and I can't hear. And maybe I don't want to talk about it. And the opposite side of that is maybe I do want to talk about it. But here's the best part of that. When I do want to talk about it, I'm telling you what I need from you after that, right? Can you just listen? Can you give me an answer? Can you give me some feedback so that if I don't want that feedback, there's not that awkward conversation after of like, well, geez, I didn't want to hear that part of it. I wanted you to just sit with me for a second, and just cry with me and let me be angry. So there's also that important aspect of when we are expressing our needs, expressing what you need from your partner after that. So like you said, the hug is great. Can we talk about it now? Can you just listen to me? Whatever that means.
I absolutely love setting the precedent for like, hey, can I have some alone time? And you can either like, it could either be something that is going on in your relationship, and 99% of the time it's not going to be that. We're just overstimulated, right? So
Always.
you
Yes.
it's because
Always.
it's out of love for your partner that you want to get yourself to a better, more neutral space. So then you can be present and show up lovingly with your partner, your kids, and your pets, and all of that magic. So I absolutely love that suggestion. And I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
definitely take note, everyone, because I think that one can really come in handy for most of us in this
For sure.
overstimulated world. Even if nothing quote unquote bad happened to and from work, but if we're commuting, I mean, nobody likes that. There's like 10,000 almost car accident moments that happens
Oh my
just from
gosh.
the office to
Every
home,
day,
right?
every minute.
So that puts us on a high alert space. So I absolutely love that, and requesting of that in a way that's not passive aggressive or mean or rude. It's just like, hey, honey, just want to give you a heads up. I need some alone time when I get home because I'm overstimulated. You can even say it's like I'm overstimulated or
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. And I love you. I'll come out and like I like to give my partner a sort of heads up of the range of time that I need. Do you need
Yeah, I
30
agree.
minutes? Do you need 3 hours? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that sort of gives them a good time of like, oh, okay, cool. Like they will then decide what they need to do and sort of like check in on you, or you say like, I'll come find you when I'm ready. Perfect. And that you're not then doing the silent treatment, which is also very toxic and dangerous, but you're
Yes.
communicating that time apart, which is beautiful.
Yes. I love that. I agree 1,000%. Yes. All for
I
the healthy
love it.
communication.
Yay. I'm going to shift gears here a little bit because I want to make sure we
Okay.
cover this part. And can we talk a little bit about toxic family members, and especially in different cultures? I'm from a Mexican background. Claudia comes from Puerto Rican and Colombian, I believe you
Mm-hmm.
told me.
Yes,
Can we talk
correct.
about what does it look like to remove toxic family members, especially when we come from cultures where family is everything, our bloodline is like, you can't, like, there's so much to go into here, but I'm just kick us off wherever you think
Yes.
is a good kickoff point.
Oh, Emmy, if it gets too much, you're gonna have to stop me because, like you said, this can go on forever. Like you said, any sort of culture. I realize this with Caribbean cultures, Asian cultures. I've had clients from all walks of life. It's very similar. There's always that pressure. Number one, of family is everything. It doesn't matter what happens. That's your brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa. And I call bullshit. I hate to say it, but I call bullshit on it. Listen, if you're not respecting me and you're not respecting my boundaries, even after communication, conversations, whatever I've tried, and there's still no reciprocity, that's the word, of what I'm asking for, then unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut it off. And I think another part I'm hoping that we have time to talk about is the grief process after, right? It's bad enough to have to go through the process of cutting off a toxic family member, but nobody wants to talk about the grief process after you've done it because there's guilt, there's shame, there's all these things that you feel because for so long you were told, how dare you think about that, right? We are everything. It is us and nobody. You don't talk about what goes on behind our walls. And if you do, there's all this associated guilt of like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And then grieving that loss of that relationship because that's tough. At the end of the day, it's a grief. It's like a breakup. It's like a breakup. And I think that's something that we don't talk about enough either. It's hard enough to do the boundaries. It's hard enough to have the conversations. The hardest part is walking away.
I 100% agree with everything. I definitely ditto the bullshit, calling the bullshit on that because it just we need to have a new conversation that has developed into really what it means to have equal rights. It
Hmm.
has nothing to do with elders being more important or more wise. I
Yes.
call bullshit on that. So
Yep. Same.
us understanding the autonomy of every single human being and us
Hmm.
having consent about everything that is happens, and
Yes.
consent does not just apply to sexual acts. It applies to emotional, psychological, and
Mental,
everything that has to
everything.
do with our life, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's so powerful and so important that you're bringing up the grief because this is the number one thing. Like once I can get a client to the point of like they realize they need to remove a toxic family member, I prep them. I've learned to prep them around the grief is coming. It's not a matter of like if it happens, it's a matter of when.
When.
Do you want to talk about what that looks like? Because it does feel like a breakup. It can be heart wrenching, but it is necessary. Just because it hurts doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Let's talk about that.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think, and like you said, it's so similar to a breakup. So I can describe it exactly the same, right? You're looking at this person who you thought would be, let's say, a parent. There's this perfect idea, this perfect picture of a parent in society. You look at your friends, they all look like they have perfect parents. Then you look at yours and you go, why are they so mean to me? And it's the same exact concept as a boyfriend or partner. It's, well, why didn't they understand I was doing so much for them? Why didn't they love me? It's those same sort of questions, right? It's a lot of that shame of, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I good enough? What could I have done better? And in reality, I don't think there is anything we could have done. If we've tried these conversations, if we've set the boundaries, and I walk my clients through all of that, right? When we set boundaries, they're going to be met with resistance. So be ready. And then when the resistance comes, you have to be ready to just sit in it for a second because it's not fun, but we can't avoid it. And so as we walk through it, it's walking through all of these emotions. And like you're saying, not if the grief's going to come, it's going to come because it sucks. There's just no other way to put it, right? I don't know how else to make it sound prettier. It's going to hurt. It's going to be this loss of a person you thought would be there because as a family, we were expected to remain in contact and have relationships for life. So when you lose that person, you're losing everything, the memories you had together, holidays you celebrated, songs are going to remind you of that person, smells, food, you name it. Literally like a breakup. It's rough. It's rough.
It really is, and it's gonna hurt no matter what. But what we can both promise you is that it gets better.
It does.
That patch is temporary.
Hmm.
And when you have that level of freedom for yourself, like when your love is relentless for yourself, the magic that comes with it is phenomenal. Like opportunities that come your way, the money that comes your way, the people who you don't even have to set boundaries with because they already know and they have that level of
Hmm.
respect for
Hmm.
themselves. It is so phenomenal what happens and what you gain. It is very easy to focus on the loss
Yeah,
of a person, but we have to remember is what are you gaining? Can we go into that a little bit more, Claire? Because it's not even about, we're not trying to replace a person. This is very important about like, it's not person for person. It's, yes, you can grieve the loss, which is a very healthy thing to do, by the way. We are not,
absolutely.
we're not telling you to skip the grieving part
Listen,
because that
I
will actually
encourage
make you
it.
sick.
I
You
encourage
need to
it.
go through
Cry,
it.
scream. Yes, do what you got to do.
Yeah, you need to go through it. And it's a necessary part of the healing process for you. This has nothing to do with what the other person is doing, but let's talk about what happens and what do they gain once they choose to remove this toxic family member and they go through the grieving process.
To be honest, I say freedom. I'm going to say it's freedom, right? The freedom from this restriction, the freedom from this image that was created for you way before you even had a choice. I mean, the freedom to do things out of your comfort zone because there's no fear of judgment. I think that's a big one. I know growing up was a lot of judgment to dress a certain way, speak a certain way, talk a certain way. I mean, you name it, there was probably some sort of guidelines I had to follow. I mean, it was insane. And as I got older, I would look at my friends and be like, wow, they're just so like free. And they just do these things without thinking about what their mom or dad's going to say about them. And I was like, man, that must be really cool. Or whatever family member, insert whatever family member at this point, right? So I think it's just, I will say that it's so tough, it's so hard, it hurts so bad. But the freedom you will gain after is unreal. It is unreal to feel like you can be yourself. And that's something that you mentioned earlier, vulnerability being such a big thing in relationships. Being able to be vulnerable with yourself is liberating, to be able to just explore what you want to explore, whether it's sexuality, whether it's culture, whether it's whatever, without the limits of, well, we don't do that, right? We don't talk like that, or we don't go over there. Without any of that in place is going to open your world to so many different things. And like you said, whether it's finances, new career opportunities, friendships, lovers, I mean, man, the possibilities are endless when I like to say it's almost like the dark cloud. When the dark cloud is removed, right? When the sun comes out, it's different. It's a different life.
It really truly is. And you're right, it is true freedom. And that level of freedom that you haven't experienced yet before, it's going to feel a little bit scary at first because it's kind of like when you're only used to breathing like 10-20% capacity, you take a full breath. That time
Hmm.
you take a full breath and fill your lungs to 100% capacity, it's going to hurt. It's
Yeah.
gonna hurt, but it's a good thing for you because now you're setting a new standard and a new foundation.
A
And what
hundred
it means, you're
percent.
like, oh, wait, oh, oh, this feels good. Oh, wow. You mean to tell me my whole life,
Yes.
I
Your
wasn't able to
entire life,
breathe?
girl.
Right? I absolutely love this. I think that discussing people pleasing and like how toxic that can be for oneself is so important because I see so many of my clients who have autoimmune disorders around this and always pleasing the rules of the family, even though the family has secrets anyway. Okay. So there's no such thing
Oh
as
my gosh.
perfection. So if you can't get it right, you're always going to be the bad girl or the bad guy or whatever.
Hmm.
I need you to know that I've been the black sheep of the family probably since my existence. And thankfully, because I chose not to follow tradition, I am the happiest and most fulfilled person in my entire family. Everyone else is so worried about, like, there's a phrase in Spanish, ¿qué va a decir la gente, right? What are people going to say?
Yes.
Who are these
Hmm.
fucking people that these people that my family is so worried about? It's like this general term of like, what are others going to say? It's like, no, well, what do you feel? What do you care about? And
Hmm.
to your point around the importance of doing this work. So people pleasing work and the way you do it with your clients is critical, absolutely critical. I have
Hmm.
one of the videos that I have my clients go through is called the good girl syndrome, which is basically the people pleasing stuff. Without this work, it's the number one thing that we do before we get into manifestation and frequency work, because I'm going to tell you right now, everyone listening, you cannot, I'm going to repeat, you cannot call in healthy soulmate love without working on people pleasing first.
100%. Yes. Yes. If we could have like a gospel cue right here, like, oh, yes. Yes, you've got to learn to love yourself first before you can love someone else, before it can be healthy love. I will say that. Let me include that part because
Yes.
I think a lot of people think they have the love. We can have love. I love my friends. I love my dogs. I love people. I love being around, I don't know, trees and butterflies. But the healthy love you can have when when you learn to love yourself, when you give yourself that freedom to be who you want to be, I mean, that is just a different kind of love. When you know how to communicate your needs, when you know how to just have those healthy conversations about anything, right? And I'm talking the most sensitive stuff, like our intimacy. I'm talking about our finances, our in-laws. I mean, when you're coming from a Spanish household, there's a lot to prep your partner for when it comes to the in-laws. So it's a lot of those sort of conversations and being able to have them in a healthy way and attacking the problem together, right? Instead of where I see a lot of couples will do, where they'll attack each other. Well, how dare you say my family's like that? Or how dare you? No, 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 I'm not. I'm just letting you know, like, I want us to be a union. I want us to be a team and I want us to attack the world together. That us versus the world statement is so true. And that's what I preach with my couples all the time. It's not you against each other, it's you against everybody else. So be ready to say, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to come to your house for the 10th Christmas in a row and sit around and not do anything. Like, we're going to travel or we're going to go, I don't know, eat at a restaurant and not worry about cleaning dishes. So it's just that freedom of being able to have that conversation. And I think when you're able to fully be vulnerable, again, I'm going to use that word because I love it that you said it earlier. It's so true. You welcome a different sort of vulnerable love with your partner. And so that is just, again, something that's inexplainable because you have to do the work yourself. You have to figure out what that means for you. You have to figure out what love means to you. You have to figure out what you need and what you want in your future, whether it's 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, and make sure your partner and you can communicate that and have those really healthy conversations.
Absolutely. I I can't, there's nothing more I can add to that because you closed this off so perfectly. I absolutely love it. Claudia, how can people find out? How can they sign up to work with you? How can they find out more about you? Tell us
Yes.
any and all links that you want to give us.
Yes, I love to talk and help. You can find me on my website, www.renew-therapy.com is my website. I'm on the socials on Instagram, renew therapy underscore. I think it's the same for TikTok, but renew therapy, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. You're going to find me wherever. Email me, DM me, text me. We can talk. I'm here for it. I'm ready for the healing. I'm here to walk you through it. That's my goal. That's what I love.
I love that. Claudia, thank you so much for being on our
Thanks
show.
for
I
having
really
me.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
And to everyone listening, I tell you this every single time, and I'm going to keep saying it. You deserve safe love. See you all
Amen
next
to that.
time.
Yep.
I love you
See
so
ya.
much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.